My name is Delilah Eve, and I am one of the CSRs for Zooby. I am also the Zooby Affiliate Education Instructor, and this video is part 1 of Session 1. Session 1 is required to watch to become a Zooby Affiliate. This class used to be taught live, but since I can't be available in all time zones on everyone's schedule, we thought we would record them so you could watch them at your leisure. This video, which is part 1, is going to cover how to become an affiliate, how to fill out the application form, and what rules you need to follow in order to become an affiliate. Session 2 is going to cover the website, how it functions, and how to upload textures to the website and the whole approval process. So let's get started. There is a note card called How to Become an Affiliate. Right now, the most current draft is August of 2024. This will go live as soon as I can get the YouTube links for these videos. They'll be right here in the note card itself. But you can pick this note card up at the Zooby home store. In the main clothing room, it'll be on the wall next to where all of the other sessions are available for purchase. You can also ask Zooby staff for this, and they'll be able to drop it to you too. So this is the application note card for becoming an affiliate. Note that this is a 2-step approval process. So please make sure that you follow the directions in order. So the first thing is that you must own a Zooby Animesh baby or newborn. Now, if you don't have a baby or a newborn right now and you're wondering which one you're going to do, if you're not intending to role play through a pregnancy or role play with a baby, or a newborn, I would suggest that you purchase the baby size, not the newborn. And the reason I say this is because all of the clothing meshes that you're going to purchase on the website are going to be in the baby size. And it is extremely important that you test all of your textures in World, either on a live baby or on a mannequin, before you set them to be approved. So, if you're just, purchasing a baby so that you can become an affiliate, then purchase the baby, not the newborn. If you have a newborn already and you're brand new to coming into an affiliate, that's fine. You can still test your textures on the newborn. The only two that don't work with that is the pacifier and the large pacifier. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can also purchase a mannequin. They're available at the Zooby store. They run about $2,000 linden, and they're just like any other Zooby baby. They just stand. There's other options and uses for the mannequins themselves, but testing textures is one of them. So you need to have either an Animesh baby or a newborn. You need to watch Zooby Affiliate Education Session 1, both Part 1 and Part 2. And then when you've done that, you need to send a note card to me with the following information. Now make sure you've watched both parts of Session 1 before you do this. So if you click on this note card, it's going to copy it to your inventory, and all of this will be in here for you to fill out. Don't forget to rename it with your name so I know which application belongs to who. All right, so the first thing that I need is your full avatar name. Then I need your avatar key. This is located in your profile. If you don't know how to get to that, if you just right-click on yourself and go to Profile, your avatar key is right here. Okay. I need a good email address, the name of your store, and a legible 512 by 512 logo for your store. Make sure that it is set to full permissions. That means it needs to be copy, mod, and transfer, because I actually have to turn this into a texture that can be used in the HUD. So don't just give me the UUID for your logo. I can't just use the UUID. I need the whole texture itself. Okay, and it's extremely important that these be a legible 512 by 512, and that's because you've all seen the texture HUD. These are incredibly small windows for us to be able to see texture. So if I go into the texture HUD and I look at all brands, you can see some of these you can't even really see. You can sort of recognize the names. A lot of people are recognized just by the way it looks. Like I changed mine over to just be words. When I first started, my logo looked like this and you couldn't see it. But I didn't understand what I was looking at when I was first doing this. So let me get back here. Show you what my logo looked like to begin with. Oh, there we go. Right here. So it says Whimsical Kids on it, but you can't even really see it. So be careful. Keep your logos simple, not busy, easy to look at. When you're in Photoshop, if it looks like it's too big, it's probably not big enough. So fill up as much of the space as you can. There is also an optional message that you can put in. So when people click on your brand in the HUD, if they've put in an optional message, it will chat in local. So like if they're in brands and they click on a brand, so see here, this particular person put in, thank you for clicking on my store logo. That's the optional message that is chatted if you choose to do an optional message. You don't have to. There is a 100 character limit for that, so please keep that in mind. And then it's going to ask you if you've watched session 1 and session 2. When this is all filled out, go ahead and drop that note card to me. I try to get everything done within a 2-week period of time, but if you go 2 weeks and you have not heard from me, please feel free to message me again. If I am uploading mesh, I've found that Firestorm's crashing a lot, so sometimes I lose track of my most recent items since login, etc. So if you haven't heard from me within 2 weeks, please let me know. While you're waiting for approval, you need to join the Zooby Affiliates group in World. This is the main group that Carrie communicates with inside of Second Life. You need to join it and stay in it for 2 reasons. 1, this is how you're going to find out that new texture kits have been released or if there are any updates for affiliates. And 2, this is the only official Zooby group that you are allowed to advertise your textures in once they're available in the HUD. So very important, join and stay in the Zooby Affiliates group. We also strongly recommend that you join and stay in the Zooby Discord server. This also has a channel for affiliates to be able to advertise their textures. It's a very active Discord server. It just gives you another avenue for marketing and communication. Let me scroll down here and see if I can not make everybody sick. So step 5 is the first approval process. This is where I set up access to your affiliate website. I will send you a note card that will have your login information and a link to the website. Make sure you put it someplace safe. That way, if you get a new computer or you lose your saved login info, you can go back to your note card and find it. And you don't get to choose your password. It's something that's chosen for you. So it's not going to be something easy to remember. If, however, you do get locked out of your website, like you can't remember your password, etc., just contact myself or another CSR and we can get your password reset for you. After I send you the note card that includes your user ID and login, please, you're going to want to go to the website and purchase 2 mesh kits of your choosing. Session 2 is going to go over the website and how it works, etc. So we'll go over how to specifically purchase mesh kits on the website. But just as a reference point, the mesh kits are 1,000 linden a piece, with the exception of skin, which is 5,000. So that's something to keep in mind. You will need 2 mesh kits of your choosing. Then you need to create and upload 5 total textures to the website using those 2 mesh kits. That's 5 textures total. So 3 of one, 2 of the second. Okay, 5 textures total. Not 5 textures per kit, 5 textures total. Okay, and I would recommend that you don't set your textures for approval until after you have all 5 ready to go. If you just submit 1 or 2, I'm not going to do anything with them until I see all 5 hit, and if the 2 of them just sit there for a few days, I'm just going to set them back into preview mode until you have all 5 ready. So please don't put them up one at a time. Do all 5 at the same time. And I promise that'll make more sense when I go over the website. Once these 5 textures are approved, this is called the second approval, I'll send you a private message and your store will be turned on to show in the HUD for everyone to see. Once you get that message from me, you can request the affiliate tag in the Discord server and in the in-world Zooby affiliate group. Some important information about purchasing mesh kits. These mesh kits allow you the opportunity to become a Zooby affiliate. Even if you never want to sell your textures, you can still go through the first approval process and never set anything for approval, just set it into preview mode, and then only you can see your textures in the HUD, and you can create as many clothing outfits as you want for your own babies. That's fine. Purchasing these kits and setting things for approval does not guarantee that we are going to approve your store. So keep that in mind. I can't at this point in time think of a moment where we haven't approved a store, but just know that purchasing the kits and setting textures for approval doesn't guarantee that your store is ever going to get turned on. Okay? Some information about the kits themselves. When you purchase the mesh kit off of the website, you are automatically accepting terms of use. And that includes you are not to resell, give away, share, donate anything that is inside a texture kit that you purchased. You are going to get AO maps, UV maps, and either an OBJ file or an FBX file. OBJ files and FBX files are files that you can pull into other 3D graphic programs like Blender or Substance Painter. So you can't give them away, you can't share them, you can't donate them, nothing. In fact, the license to be an affiliate is attached to the avatar that requests it. So this means that you cannot give these things to your alt. Okay, so make sure that whatever avatar you apply with is the avatar that you are going to be creating with. There are no refunds for full perm products. If you accidentally purchase the wrong kit, just put it away for later and design for it at a later date. There are no refunds for full perm products. If we find out that you are using these kits outside of the terms of service, then we will file a DMCA report to Linden for the unlicensed use of the content. And one of the big things is do not take the OBJ or FBX file that is in these packages and rig it to another avatar to be sold like regular clothing. That's not something that is allowed. Just don't do it. If we find that's happening, your access to the to the affiliate website and your ability to sell on the texture HUD will be immediately revoked. You must also use what's known as the display template, which you can download from the affiliate website in order to make the display photo. So this is a display photo. Okay, notice how my item is big enough to take up the whole space. I'm not covering up my logo. The picture is clear. It's a good representation of the actual colors of that particular kimono. Those are all things you want to take into account when you're taking display photos. So this is a display photo, but there's also something called a secondary or an optional display photo. Sometimes we call it the secondary picture. And let me go into one that I know has a good optional photo. So these are sleepers. So here you can see my sleeper takes up as much space as it can. It's still kind of small because I have to show a full body mesh. But if you click on the magnifying glass and you come into the secondary display photo or the optional display photo, you can see here that we have far fewer rules as to what goes on. So on the display photo, which is what everybody sees here, it can be just the mesh that's being sold. But on the secondary display photo, you can add many more things. Okay, so display photo, optional display photo. Okay, there is a gray frame in the display photo template in Photoshop that you absolutely must keep intact. So let me just pull up Photoshop here. This is it. This happens to be mine. But this gray frame that's right here needs to stay intact at all times. Do not let your images for the clothing hang over this image. It will be denied for that. And it's this gray image here that keeps the consistency and continuity of this gray part are on the outside of the display photos. So very important. Make your images as large as it can within the space, but don't let it hang over that edge. Okay? This right here. Okay? You cannot change the color, the size, or anything about the gray frame in that display photo. You can recolor the background, but nothing can hang over the edge. And I'm going to go a little bit more over display photo requirements as we get down to the affiliate rules. So we'll come back to this in a second. You also cannot submit a display image that is in what's called T-pose. So for example, when you res like this sleeper mesh out onto the ground, the arms here are going to be sticking straight out side to side. That is called T-pose. You'll need to use something called the Mesh Poser Kit, which you're going to download from the website, that is going to put the arms down like this. Okay? I have seen affiliates try to use the warp or the puppet warp or the transformative warp in Photoshop or other programs to try to bring these arms down. I can always tell the difference between when you use the Poser Kit and when you don't. Please use the Poser Kit. Submitting things in T-pose is an automatic denial, and if you continually do that, it's going to result in you getting a warning, and you don't want that. So put the arms down. Okay, this is a graphic that shows you where to download the display template and the Poser Kit off of the website, and I will go over that when we get into session 2 or part 2. Excuse me. All right, now let's get into the actual affiliate rules. So we've already talked about that the display template, that you have to use the display template provided, and that you can never take a photo with a mesh in T-pose. The texture that's being sold must match the display image. So if this is a red sleeper, when I put this on a baby, it better be a red sleeper, and it better be in this pattern. Okay. Display images should only show the specific item being sold. This is to avoid customer confusion. You know, if you have a picture of a sleeper and a head wrap, then on the main picture here, then a parent does not know, are they purchasing the sleeper or are they purchasing the head wrap? Okay, so this display image can only show the actual texture that's being sold. It also needs to make sure that it's showing the front of the item being sold. So some people you will see will take like a shirt and they'll take a picture and show you the front, but then over on the side somewhere they will have a secondary picture on the display photo that shows you the back. You can certainly do that. Just keep in mind, if you do, that it's going to make your picture smaller than it already is, which makes it hard for parents to see. But what might be the better option for that is to put it on the secondary display image. So let's go back into my magnifying glass here and look. So here you can see this is actually a picture of a mannequin. You can have pictures of mannequins on your optional display image. You cannot have a mannequin in this one, okay? But you can on your optional one. You can also put text on your optional display image, but not on the primary one. Not on this display image. There are 3 exceptions to this rule, and that is if you're a skin maker, you can put the baby model or skin tone on the display image. You can also do that if you're using a hat hair kit and you're selling the hair only or the hat only. If that happens, you can put the words hat only or hair only. And let me go back here. So see, this is a hat hair kit that I sell that's just the bow. Now, I chose not to put hat only or hair only on here. I chose to put the a picture of the head with the bow on it. But it also chats in local that it's the bow bob bow only. This is the bow only. So there's several ways to tackle this, but you could also put hat only or hair only, etc. on there. And the third exception to not having text on the display image is that the large and newborn pacifier look identical, but one works for the baby and one works for the newborn. So you're going to have to make sure that they know which one they're looking for. And let me find that example for you. Okay, so here you can see these all say large pacifier. It looks like this, okay? But if I go in and I search for a newborn pacifier, look, they're identical. The only way people know the difference between this is it either says large or newborn pacifier somewhere on the display image, or if they're searching by a particular mesh, like their baby's wearing it, then it would show up if their newborn was wearing it. So, but those are the three instances that you can put text on the display image. Skin makers, hat hair kits where you're selling the hat or the hair separately, and then the large and the newborn pacifier. Okay, let me go back to my Hope Lace sleeper set here. So, oops, here we go. Some of the things that you want to be careful of when you're making display images. You want to make sure that the image of your clothing is clear. It needs to be taken in a lighting setting that makes the color of the item you're selling, sort of true to form. If you use a dark lighting setting, then your colors may show up darker than what it actually appears on when a parent purchases it. So be careful with your environmental settings when you're taking pictures. Make sure that you take up as much space as possible on the display image itself without hanging over the edge into the gray frame. And make sure that you've got clean edges. So a lot of people, will res the sleeper mesh out on the ground, put the texture on it, and then take a snapshot of it. And then that gets pulled into a graphics program where they remove the background. I would avoid using things like green for that. I know green screens are like this huge, big thing, and everybody says, hey, you can always take it out, but not everybody has the skills to remove that completely when they're first starting out. So I tend to use a white, a gray, or a black screen. It just makes it easier to for me, it makes it easier to take the background out. And if I have a particularly difficult pattern that's not wanting me to delete it, because my display image has a dark background, it kind of hides the imperfections a bit. So play around with it. I've seen people use green, I've seen people use yellow, but if you submit a texture for submission and we can see the green or yellow around your clothing where you didn't get all of it taken out, we are going to deny it and have you clean it up. You're also going to run into moments where you have items that are difficult to take a picture of. And one of the unique things about meshes for Zooby is that there is no inside to these meshes. And we do that to keep the land impact low when it's on the baby. But when you take pictures of them, you're going to notice that sometimes you can see through the back. So like when I took a picture of this t-shirt, actually, there was this broken line of the back collar of the t-shirt. And it was just really messy. So if that happens, position your mesh in a way that minimizes, that transparency as much as possible. And then when you pull it into Photoshop, make sure you clean up the edges. Okay, we don't want to see little straggling pieces of things, around necklines and things like that. If you need to fill it in with a color once you get it into Photoshop, you can do that too. Whatever you do, make it look neat and professional. If it's messy and the cut isn't good, people aren't going to want to purchase the texture because it's not presented very well. So something to keep in mind with that. So we talked about the display images needing to be clear, etc. Not using text except for those 3 reasons. We talked about never touching the gray background on the display image. Your store logo. Your store logo belongs in the bottom right-hand corner of your display image. Do not cover up your logo with clothing. Okay? Don't, I cut this one really close. Don't cover up your logo. Don't put your logo in a bazillion different places. I know we have some affiliates that try to get creative with where they're putting their logo. This is for consistency in the HUD. Please leave it in the bottom right hand corner. Don't cover it up with text. Don't cover it up with the display image. Keep it nice and clear. Your optional display image must include the item that's being sold in the same color or pattern as is in the display image, but it can also include text or other matching items. So you saw when I did the Hope Lace thing that I had a picture of my sleeper on a mannequin, and it showed all of the matching pieces that went with it. And I also included text that told them the collection name, the mesh pieces that were being used, and the sleeper. Mine also includes information that it matches something at my adult store, which is Whimsical Designs. But if you need to put text on an image outside of our 3 places, it's on here that you can put it. Now, sometimes you'll open up this optional image and you'll see that they'll put all of the different colors that are available. So if you do that, and say I put all 9 of these sleepers on the secondary image, you have to make sure that whatever color or pattern is on this display image also exists on your secondary display image. Okay? We get lots of questions from parents when those kinds of simple things are not followed, and it makes it hard for them to really know what they're purchasing, so keep it consistent. One of the big things that we need to go over is not using copyrighted or trademarked materials. Okay? This includes, but is not limited to, things like Disney, Marvel, sports teams, established brands. It is your responsibility as an affiliate to make sure that you're using images legally. Not knowing that it was a copyrighted item is not an acceptable excuse. Okay? And most of us CSRs are pretty good at spotting things that might be copyrighted imagery. It's not that hard to find or figure out. A quick Google search will tell us if something is copyrighted. But we also can't be responsible for knowing all of the copyright issues across the world. So, like, we've taken down things that were popular and copyrighted in the UK, even though most of us CSRs are US based. And so sometimes things slip through because we don't know, but if we find out, we will go back and we will remove it, and you will receive a warning. Affiliates receive 3 warnings, and on the 3rd warning, you lose access to the website and your store gets taken down out of the HUD. You'll no longer be able to sell textures. So just don't do it. Okay? Be extremely careful with sites that offer free or public domain images. We have found copyrighted imagery on that website. So just because it exists on a free or public domain website for imagery doesn't mean it's actually free of copyright. It just means that nobody's really policing that website and people are putting up whatever they want. Yes, we have taken down copyrighted information or copyrighted images that were originally obtained from a free domain website or from a public domain website. So keep that in mind. Other popular things that we tend to have to deny are things like the Grinch at Christmas. Actually, the words the Grinch and Grinch are copyrighted. You cannot use them at all. And stay away from all of that imagery as well. Most, if not all, actually I should say all, of the Dr. Seuss realm is copyrighted or trademarked in some fashion. So just stay away from it. Don't try it. The other way that you'll get a warning is if you are repeatedly making mistakes that we're catching on the approval process. So if you are repeatedly putting in items that are in T pose all the time, and we're having to tell you repeatedly to put them in A pose, or if you're not testing your textures and making simple mistakes repeatedly, that will also eventually earn you a warning. But copyright issues are a warning on the first offense. So keep that in mind. We want to make sure that we keep this system open and accessible to everybody. All textures must also be G-rated in nature. No inappropriate language or adult content is permitted. We are clothing infants, sometimes up to toddlers, depending on how you dress your baby. This is no space for violence or anything else, so please keep it G-rated. I know that this causes an issue with some of our alternative communities, like the goth community, or like when it comes to Halloween, where things tend to get more creepy and scary. Violence will not be allowed, inappropriate language will not be allowed, adult content is not allowed. Okay, if a CSR denies your texture because it's too violent or we don't think it's appropriate for children, don't argue. Okay, we are trying to keep this G-rated and open for everybody. Do not deliberately copy another affiliate's design. If two affiliates appear to have the same textures on the same mesh item, then the most recently uploaded one will be taken down and the oldest one will stay. I've never actually seen this happen where it's the same texture on the same item, but I have seen the same texture from two different affiliates on two different items. And this really comes into play if you're both purchasing textures, say, off of the website, or, you happen to both be using the same third-party texture website. So just keep in mind whichever one was uploaded last will be taken down. If you suspect someone is stealing your content, please contact a Zooby CSR and file a DMCA report so that it can be investigated. As an affiliate, you are also solely responsible to provide support for any of the textures you create. The mods and the other CSRs and I do an incredible amount of investigation on figuring out what's wrong with the texture, because even though Zooby didn't create the textures in the texture head for all of you affiliates, parents always come to us first when there is a problem. And while we will attempt to troubleshoot that ahead of time, in the end, it is your responsibility to do that, including providing a refund if necessary. Please know that Zooby has the right to deny or revoke your affiliate status for anybody who violates the rules or fails to meet expectations. We also reserve the right to modify the rules and expectations as deemed necessary. So let's talk about some quality control kinds of things. And before I start talking about this, I do want to say that we know that everybody comes into being a Zooby affiliate at a different skill level. So maybe you've never created a texture before. Maybe you're brand new to this. Maybe you've been texturing for years and you're extremely talented with it. This process is for everybody. And if you're brand new to all this and just learning how to texture, I understand it can be intimidating. When I started texturing for the Animesh babies, I had never created a texture before. In fact, I think the first one I created was the logo that I first applied to be an affiliate with. And that was before I knew anything about what I was doing. So know that we will keep that in mind. One of my favorite things to do as a CSR is to watch somebody brand new to texturing start off and then watching their skills grow as they continue to design more and more. So I understand this can be an intimidating process and there is a steep learning curve, but know that we are here to help. Feel free to ask me questions. I'm not the Zooby affiliate education instructor for no reason. I enjoy it. So when we look at these quality control kinds of things, know that we keep all of this in mind when we are approving textures. So please do not simply copy and paste a pattern or a color onto an AO map and call it good. We can tell the difference. And if you've ever gone through the HUD and you've looked at textures where it looked like, somebody's kid with a crayon drew on it and it's not even a cool drawing. You'll see. It's if you don't put any effort into making your textures a unique and special, they are going to look flat and lack dimension, and it's just not going to look good on the baby. So keep that in mind. We also have meshes that have multiple faces. The sandals are a good example of this. We would like to see different textures on the different faces because it helps just with the realism of the product. So I'm actually going to go over the multiple faces in session 1, part 2. So I'm going to get more in depth on this when we get into part 2 of that. Patterns on the texture should line up as much as possible. And I say as much as possible because once you start working with these meshes, you're going to understand that there is no way to line up patterns 100%, but we can tell the difference between someone who attempted to line up the pattern and someone who did not. So keep that in mind. And don't have obvious seams in your creations. We had a series of AO maps that came out that included things like the all-in-one, there were 40 meshes that came out at once, like the crop tops, the yoga pants, in that grouping of things that came out, and they have huge, large gray seams where the AO maps come together, and you will need to correct for that in Photoshop or whatever 3D graphic program you're using. Do not leave those huge, ugly seams in there. It just doesn't look good. Ways to lose your affiliate status. Affiliates who break the rules will receive 3 warnings. On the 3rd warnings, you will lose access to the website and your store will be removed from the HUD permanently. Copyright and trademark violations are always a warning. Like I said before, ignorance of the copyright is not an excuse. It is your job to make sure that you're not using copyrighted or trademarked items. Myself and the other CSRs are the secondary backup to that. Okay? And I hate giving out warnings. Please don't make me do that. Making a mistake, though, when you're uploading is not always a warning. You know, sometimes we get in a groove and we accidentally paste the UUID for the display image into the place where the AO map should have gone. You know, everybody makes mistakes. But there are ways to catch that on yourself before you set things for approval. So make sure that you're testing your items. I'm going to go over that a lot in session 1, part 2. Make sure you're testing before you set these to active. But if you are making the same mistake repeatedly, you know, with, you know, pasting UUIDs or, you know, always hanging over the gray frame or things like that, it is eventually going to culminate into being a warning. If we set something to denied, you have 7 days to fix that texture. Marketing your textures, kind of like I talked about before, the In-World Zooby affiliate group is the only official Zooby group where you can post notices to market your textures. Advertising in the group is limited to notices only. Do not do it in regular chat. You can post a notice once every 12 hours. Please make sure you look at the group profile for all of the rules that are involved in that and to make sure that nothing has changed. Bots count. If you're an affiliate that's using a bot to advertise in groups, you cannot advertise and your bot advertise. So keep that in mind. There is also an affiliates channel in the Zooby Discord server. You can post pictures in that channel as well. You have to make sure that you put the actual file there. You can't drag links into the Zooby Discord server at all. Communication for Zooby affiliates will happen in that same Zooby affiliate In-World group and on the affiliate chat channel in the Discord server. The nice thing that I like about the affiliate chat channel in the Zooby Discord server, it is only affiliates. So like on the In-World group, even though it's called the Zooby affiliate group, there are both affiliates and parents in that group. So if you're an affiliate struggling with something on a UV map and you ask a question, then all the parents are seeing you ask that question as well. Whereas on the Zooby server, if you go into the affiliate chat channel, not just the affiliate channel, the one that's called affiliate is where you can market your creations, but affiliate chat is just fellow affiliates. So that's another advantage to being on the server. And that is the end of our note card. So just to recap how you apply, because that's the main point of this, okay? You need to copy this note card to your inventory. Watch both session 1 and session 1 part 1 and part 2, and then fill this information out and send it to me. My second life name is Sweet Delilah Eve, although most people just call me Delilah. And this wraps up session 1, part 1. Session 1, part 2 should follow, but it'll also be available on the channel. I'll see you for part 2.